Like and subscribe to PalsFundamentals for more content like this. The sources are linked below. Welcome to this Faroese news report.
Hello. Today we're looking at some recent news items based on the sources provided.
That's right. We'll just walk you through the key points, the facts as reported. The goal here is simply to present the information from the sources we have.
Exactly. No extra analysis, just relaying what the reports and articles say. So where should we start?
Okay, let's kick off with Vágar Airport. There's been some talk about expansion and, well, the whole tourism debate surrounding it.
Right. So a report from Juneteenth basically said the airport terminal is too small right now, often crowded.
And because of that, the sources say there are plans moving forward for more expansion.
Yeah, the airport director, Regin Jacobsen, he expects passenger numbers could, more than double, maybe up to 1 million in the coming years.
So he sees expansion as, well, necessary to cope with that.
But then, literally the next day, June 11th, historian Train Peterson Nonklet offered a very different take.
Okay, what was his view?
His argument, according to the sources, is that the airport isn't really the problem size-wise. It's more that there are just too many tourists.
Ah, okay, so shifting the focus.
And he links this to the bigger picture, globally.
Mm-hmm.
He states that the lifestyle in, well, wealthy countries, particularly the very wealthiest people, is doing significant damage. Climate, nature, the whole thing.
He talks about serious crises.
Yes, serious crises in climate and biodiversity that are impacting people, animals, plants right now. That's what the source reports him saying.
And he mentioned researchers, too.
He highlights that researchers keep saying we need major cuts in greenhouse gases and we need to protect and restore nature. But Nonklet's view, as presented, is that emissions in the Faroes are actually still going up.
And he points fingers.
He points primarily to what he calls heavy industry, specifically fishing and salmon farming. He claims they face almost no requirements to cut back.
So his argument is basically that capitalism won't fix itself.
Pretty much. He believes the political system has to impose strong requirements, not just on fishing and farming, but also airlines and the cruise industry.
He acknowledges the airport expansion itself isn't, the single thing deciding the planet's future.
Right, but his core point reported in the source is that this constant push for growth is the real underlying issue.
Makes sense. He's saying you can't have sustainability if everything polluting just keeps expanding.
Exactly. Now, staying on tourism, sociologist Samumatras Christensen adds another layer to this.
Okay, how so?
Well, we have these different viewpoints already, right?
Yeah.
The airport director focused on the economics, handling more passengers.
And we also heard from the Vágar mayor, Bjørn Pryor. He mentioned residents are bothered by the increased airport traffic, safety concerns, well-being in the villages.
Right, so Christensen's analysis, as reported, points out this tension. You've got Jacobsen on economic sustainability, Nonklet focused on environmental, and Pryor on the societal side.
3 different pillars of sustainability, essentially.
Precisely. And Christensen suggests the tourism industry often zooms in on the economic gain and tends to ignore or, let's say, downplay the environmental and social costs.
Is that where the term greenwashing comes up?
The source mentions that term in relation to this focus on economic benefits while maybe not fully addressing the other impacts, yes.
And Christensen's view is that tourism uses the Faroes environment and society as a resource.
That's the perspective presented, that it uses them as its resource, but doesn't really pay adequately for the impact.
What kind of impacts are we talking about? The sources detail those.
They do. Environmental pollution's one, especially from transport to and from the islands. That ties back to Nonklet's point about emissions.
Okay, what else?
Social and cultural impacts. Things like, more wear and tear on roads, villages getting overcrowded.
I think I read something about tourists going into private areas.
Yeah, or even churches during services. Christensen apparently used the phrase open-air museums to describe what could happen to villages.
Wow, that's a strong image.
He also mentions pressure on the Faroese language, partly from foreign workers in tourism, and critically, tourism displacing residents.
How does that happen?
By houses being converted to short-term rentals, like Airbnb, and just general rent increases making it harder for locals.
So Christensen's takeaway question is,
It's reported, he asks, who actually pays the cost for tourism's profit? He suggests the industry should compensate the affected areas, maybe even help fund new housing for people pushed out by commercial use.
okay, quite a lot to unpack there on tourism and the airport. Let's shift now to the political arena. Sources covered some discussions about foreign relations.
Yes. Reports indicate 6 parties in the Lagting, the parliament, have been talking about needing, well, urgent changes to the Faroes' foreign policy options within the realm.
What's the core problem they've identified?
The issue reported is restricted access. The Faroes face limits in joining or fully participating in key international organizations.
And these are important for...
For things like commerce, trade, economic development, culture, foreign policy itself, and even security opportunities. So quite broad.
And most parties take this seriously.
The sources say yes. The 6 parties involved in the talks do, but they note one exception, the Union Party, Sambandsflokkeren.
What's the issue with them?
Well, the source material reports accusations that the Union Party is using the situation to spread, let's say, inaccurate information about what the other parties are planning. Falsehoods is the word used.
Okay, specifically.
The accusation highlighted is against their leader, Barur Astig Nielsen. He apparently said on the radio that the other 5 parties have this irresponsible plan to just leave the realm first and then figure out a new relationship later.
And the sources offer a rebuttal to that.
Yes. The reporting suggests it's considered unlikely these parties would just ditch existing agreements without a plan. That wouldn't make much sense.
So what are the talks actually about, according to the sources?
They're framed as trying to make changes within the current realm setup. The goal is to remove political hurdles so the Faroes can function fully in foreign policy collaborations that serve Faroes' interests.
And what about the Union Party's own proposal, New Connection?
The sources are critical of it. They report it doesn't solve the existing problems, offers no new rights, and wouldn't help with joining organizations like IFTA, the WTO, the IOC, or getting independent membership in fisheries bodies like NAFO or NAFC.
Interesting. There was a comparison made, too.
Yeah, to a proposal by a previous Union Party leader back in 2012. That idea was for a realm of 3 independent countries. The implication in the source is that that was more forward-looking than the current stance.
So the hope reported is that the other 5 parties keep talking.
Essentially, yes. That they'll continue working towards an agreement despite Nielsen's reported statements.
All right. Moving on, there was news about new regulations for the workplace.
That's right. Announced today, June 12th. A new regulation specifically about the psychological work environment.
What's the main impact of that?
It sets out clear conditions, obligations for employers. Basically, they now have a legal duty to ensure a positive psychological work environment, putting it on the same level as the physical one.
And the minister involved commented.
Yes, Minister of Environment Affairs, Margit Stora. She's quoted emphasizing how important well-being and psychological welfare are for performance and just people's general state of mind.
So the core idea is psychological safety is fundamental.
That's the principle behind it, according to the source. It's seen as essential for effective workplaces.
Does the regulation get specific?
It does. It covers how work should be organized, things like workload management, avoiding unclear demands, handling high emotional demands, and preventing degrading behavior or work-related violence.
And the responsibility lies with?
Firmly with the employers. They need to actively prevent and manage these issues. That means active supervision and having procedures for employees to report concerns.
Is this effective immediately?
No. While it was announced June 12th, it actually takes effect August 1st, 2025.
So there's a lead-in time.
Exactly. The sources note this gives employers time to make the necessary adjustments and get things in order.
Okay. Let's look at some local finances now. Vágar municipality had some results reported.
Yes, they had an extraordinary council meeting on June 10th to approve the 2024 accounts.
And the main headline?
Total revenues for 2024 came in 15.4 million Danish kroner, DKK, higher than they'd budgeted for.
Even with a lower tax rate?
That's right. The municipal tax rate was lower in 24 than in 23, but revenues still beat the budget significantly.
Can we break down the numbers a bit? Tax income.
Net tax income was 135.3 million DKK. That's after interest deduction. And it was 14.7 million higher than in 2023, well above the budgeted 119.9 million.
What about spending? Operating expenses?
Those were 111.7 million DKK in 2024. That's up 9.6 million from 2023, and just a bit over the budget of 109.6 million.
Any reason given for that increase?
The sources attribute it mainly to wage increases and also costs for IT security and systems.
So what was the operating surplus then, the money left for investment?
That was 23.6 million DKK in 2024, which is quite a jump from 18.7 million in 2023 and much better than the 10.3 million they had budgeted for.
Did they invest all of that?
Net investments totaled 31.4 million DKK. That was actually less than the 37.1 million they had planned to invest.
And the unspent money?
Most of it is being carried over to 2025, the report says.
So the overall bottom line for 2024, surplus or deficit?
It was a deficit, but much smaller than the year before. A deficit of 7.8 million DKK for 2024 compared to a 23.2 million deficit in 2023. So a big improvement.
And their debt level?
Net debt at the end of 2024 was 64.6 million DKK. The source puts that in context as being 0.46% of an assessment value.
Okay, and one last detail on their tax rate.
Just that while the Ministry of Finance often uses 23% as a benchmark, Vágar municipality's actual rate in 2024 was 21.5%.
Got it. Now, there was also the recent royal visit. King Frederik and Queen Mary were in the Faroes. Any observations reported from that?
Yes. King Frederik apparently made a specific comment during a quick media chat at Vágar. He said, quote, "Faroe Islands are in rapid development."
Did he elaborate on that?
He did. He mentioned seeing not just the physical development, like new buildings, since his last visit.
But also something else.
Yeah. He described sensing a strong will, a desire among individual Faroese people to, improve things. He called it a personal drive that he really sensed.
Interesting observation. And Queen Mary?
She highlighted the very warm welcome they got everywhere and, of course, the impressive natural beauty.
Any specific experiences mentioned?
The king mentioned trying a zip line made a strong impression among, many good experiences.
And back to that development point.
He reiterated the rapid development idea, visible in buildings, prosperity. But he also really emphasized meeting entrepreneurial Faroese people. He described them as proud of their ability to develop themselves and the country.
So physical changes, but also a sense of dynamism in the people.
That seems to be the gist of his reported comments. He also touched on the shared values, history, and family ties within the realm.
How did he phrase that?
Emphasized that despite being different countries, they stand together strongly.
Okay. Let's turn to energy now. There was some news about tidal power.
Yes, from the Swedish company Minesto. They're doing tests in Västmanland, trying to extract tidal energy.
And they had positive results.
They announced positive results from recent trials using a new, longer tether on their system.
What system is that?
It's called the Dragon 12 kite. They extended its tether by 10 meters.
And the tests went well.
Exactly as their simulations predicted, according to the company announcement.
What was the key outcome?
The modification, the longer tether, led to a 25% increase in energy output.
Wow, that's significant.
It is. And the market thought so, too. Investors reacted positively. The company's stock went up by over 21% on the morning of June 12th, right after the news broke.
Okay, interesting development there. That brings us to our final segment for this report. The weather. What's the forecast looking like?
All right. Based on the June 12th forecast,
Yeah.
right now there's a cloud layer over the islands, bringing some rain.
But looking ahead.
A high-pressure area is expected to move in over the next few days. That should mean light winds and not much precipitation.
But there's a catch for tonight.
Sort of. A weak, low-pressure system, currently west of Ireland, is moving north. It's going to bring a cloud layer toward the southern sea areas, and showers are expected tomorrow because of it.
Okay, can you give us the day-by-day breakdown starting tonight?
Sure. Tonight into Friday morning, expect a light to fresh breeze from the southeast, about 3 to 8 meters per second. Cloudy with rain, changing to occasional showers later in the morning.
And the afternoon.
Later afternoon, the breeze drops a bit. Light from the southeast, less than 5 meters. Shifting clouds, still occasional showers. Tonight, that light to fresh southeast breeze continues. Temps 9 to 12 Celsius, maybe up to 15 locally.
Okay, and for Friday proper?
Friday, light to fresh southeast breeze again, 380 meters, could be lighter locally. Cloudy with showers pretty much all day. Evening sees the breeze shift slightly to the south. Still light to fresh. Temps 10 to 13 C, possibly 15 locally.
Saturday
looks like a light southerly breeze, under 5 meters. Shifting clouds, maybe some local fog. You'll get sunny spells mixed with occasional showers. Later on, becomes cloudy, but still with sunny spells. Temps 10 to 13 C, again, up to 15 locally. Sunday, light breeze from the southwest, less than 5 meters. Cloudy, but with occasional sun and showers. It's expected to become overcast in the evening. Temperatures 10 to 14 Celsius.
And into next week? Monday.
Light to fresh breeze from the southwest, 3 to 8 meters. Overcast sky with showers. In the evening, the clouds might shift a bit, still with occasional showers. Temps 11 to 14 C during the day, dropping to around 8 C overnight.
Finally, Tuesday.
Starts with a light breeze from variable directions, under 5 meters, cloudy and rainy. Then in the evening, the wind picks up fresh breeze from the southwest, 5-10 meters. Should become partly cloudy with showers then. Temperatures for Tuesday between 9 and 11 Celsius.
Okay, that covers the forecast details. And that wraps up our Faroes news report for today.
Just a reminder to like and subscribe to PALS Fundamentals for more content like this. The source is linked below.
Thanks for tuning in.